Welcome, and in this video I'm going to talk about abdominal breathing, a kind of breathing that we are all naturally born with. It is also called belly breathing and also sometimes called as the diaphragmatic breathing. So if you see the screen, I'll just start with a quote. All chronic pain or suffering and diseases are caused by a lack of oxygen at the cell level. So we all know that we need enough oxygen in our body for carrying out the right bodily processes that we have, and any scarcity of the right amount of oxygen leads to issues at our body levels. So now let's start with what is abdominal breathing, and also why at times whenever abdominal breathing this topic comes up, it's also compared to a baby or an infant sleeping. So let's just focus on this part, the abdominal breathing in child. Babies, it is said that babies are the best example to observe abdominal or the diaphragmatic breathing. So if there's a baby just with its stomach facing the ceiling, you'll see, if you minutely see, you'll see the rise and fall of the baby's belly while sleeping. So that is actually the right way for the belly to rise and fall when we are breathing. So because like I said initially, because of certain situations, certain challenges, we forget this kind of breathing, and in those times we, instead of doing the belly breathing, we do something called a chest breathing. We'll come to that, but I'm just giving you a brief on what is going to come in this video. So coming back to abdominal breathing in a child, babies are the best examples to observe this kind of abdominal breathing. And we are naturally born with this kind of a breathing, because breathing nobody teaches us how to do. Like your parents never taught you how to breathe. There are certain things that we are born with. So this abdominal breathing is actually we are born with, and we are naturally tuned or trained, or we are supposed to be breathing like this. But yeah, we have at times we have to be conscious, and we have to tell ourselves, or we have to practice to do this kind of breathing. Like I said, no one teaches you how to breathe, and which is why sometimes kids are called born yogis, because they know how to breathe. So what is abdominal breathing? Breathing is a natural process that occurs without any conscious effort. And diaphragmatic breathing is a type of deep breathing that fully engages the diaphragm and increases the efficiency of the lungs. So like I said, it's also called the belly breathing and also diaphragmatic breathing. And our lifestyle has moved us from abdominal to a kind of breathing that is relatively shallow and does not use the full capacity of the lungs. Now let's come to the technique and more also on what happens when we breathe, what are the organs involved, how the breathing happens during the intake of oxygen and the exhalation of carbon dioxide, what is the process that happens. So I'll take you to a chart or a diagram which explains what happens during the inhalation and exhalation process. So if you see here, there is a muscle, it's called a muscle, which is in the shape of a dome. So not from the side, but from the front, it's like in the shape of a dome. So this is the diaphragm, and on the diaphragm rest the lungs. All right, so we have the right lungs and the left lungs. So we have so both the lungs, they rest on the diaphragm. So what happens is now the belly, when I'm saying a belly should expand when you're breathing, is there should be a slight, when you're inhaling, there should be a slight bulge out, like it will not be very huge kind of a bulge out, but it should be a slight bulging out of your belly. And when you exhale, this belly should reduce. So coming to the, let's say, the technology part of it. So when we inhale and we are drawing in oxygen to the lungs, so the lungs get inflated, they expand. So when this lungs expand, so it needs space, it needs to move. So what it does is, because it becomes big, it pushes down the diaphragm, which is like, it is called, in that process the diaphragm kind of contracts. So is this making sense? So when it is expanding, the chest, when you're inhaling, you're putting so much of oxygen, and the expansion needs space, and everything is like compact and put in place inside our body, so it needs space. So what it does is it pushes down the diaphragm. So the diaphragm is said to contract at this point. And when you are exhaling, so when you need to exhale out your the carbon dioxide that comes out, so it is this diaphragm kind of relaxes. When you push out the air, the diaphragm kind of relaxes, and this pushes the lungs, and this also allows the most of the used out gases to go out, the carbon dioxide and all other toxins to go out. So when you're inhaling, the diaphragm contracts, and when you're exhaling, the diaphragm relaxes. When you're inhaling, the lungs become bigger, especially the lower lobes, and when you're exhaling, shrinks. So this is what happens. And when you're inhaling, because the diaphragm comes a little lower, it kind of pushes the belly a little outside, and that is what you understand as the belly becoming bigger. So that is what happens when you are inhaling. And belly breathing or the abdominal breathing is what that's how it is understood, as that the belly bulges. So this movement actually causes the belly to bulge a bit, and when you are releasing, the belly goes back. And so what happens now, most of the times, in this kind of a breathing, there's a deep breathing happening. There's oxygen that is going into the deeper layers or the last layers of the lungs, or the bottomest layer of the lungs. But during when you are in a situation which is panicky, or when you are irritated, or when you're angry, or you're fuming, in such situations, the oxygen, because your body movements also change, you start breathing very fast. In such a case, you're not able to draw in fully so much of oxygen. You partially breathe. It's like a shallow kind of a breathing. This is a deep breathing. When you deeply inhale, that's a deep breathing. But during these kind of changes, your body responds in a different way, and that first difference is shown by your breathing. In those cases, you are not able to fully draw in oxygen, and this becomes like a shallow breathing. So I'll also show you what happens during a shallow breathing. So this actually, I have a blog on abdominal breathing. You can go to my website www.pallavikashyap.com, go to the blogs, and you can find this article. So I'm reading, kind of referring to this article while I'm explaining this entire concept. So it's the same, what happens when we inhale, there is a contraction of the diaphragm, and then relaxation. So I'm just explaining all of it so that you can refer to this article. I also have a podcast on the same, which I have linked to this article. So if you don't have the time to read, you can just listen to this podcast. So the difference with podcast is you just need to plug it in your ears, and you can do your work, you can drive, you can do your cooking, or you can go to the gym and work out and all of that. So that's the beauty about podcasts. So you can just play this as well if you don't want to read this blog. So I'll come to the breathing benefits. I just wanted to show what is chest breathing. So when you're not doing the full entire deep breathing, what we do is chest breathing. The shallow breathing is like chest breathing. So chest breathing is also called shallow breathing because the inhalation doesn't happen as per the full capacity of the lungs. Like I explained, deep is when the entire oxygen goes in. Shallow is when it is midway or half. So during such times, the diaphragm and lungs squeezed, preventing the lungs from fully expanding, and the amount of oxygen necessary to purify. So it's basically, you can read it out here in this blog. It's basically you're not inhaling fully, and like I said, chest breathing is experienced during situations like when you are under stress, when there is certain emergency conditions, shock or unwanted situation, tension, you're anger, irritated. So this was about the abdominal breathing. Let me just read out a few benefits. It gives you deeper relaxation. It is the basis for normally if you see any meditation that you do, most of the meditations will say first you do some breathing exercises and then come to your meditation, because breathing exercises calm your mind, calm your senses. So it is a good good technique to first do a breathing exercise and then come to meditation. So this is a good way to calm your entire body, your entire senses. It lowers stress levels, reduces blood pressure, there's more oxygen in your cells, enhances clarity of mind, regulates other critical body processes. So this was about abdominal breathing and how it helps. And as I said, this is to breathe the right way. In case it is not possible to breathe, do it consciously, then just have some time in your day, either in the morning or in the afternoon, where you do this kind of breathing, like 15 minutes a day. Or you can, there's no rule like you should do it. You can do it any time of the day. In fact, this is how you should be breathing. So whenever, if you are not able to do this consciously, then during breaks, whenever you're out of a meeting or during certain breaks, just ensure you do this kind of a breathing. So I'll be doing another video on one of the breathing practices that I follow, which I consciously do to bring in more life energy to the body. So I'll come with another video for that. Until that time, let me know in the comments below if there's anything you wanted me to add, or if there's anything more I should add in my next video. And till then, meet you again. All the best. Bye.